How'd you sleep? Slept okay. A little bit disturbed. When I'm sleeping alone in my bed, I kind of, because I'm married, so I normally sleep in the bed next to my wife. I sleep on, if you're looking at the bed, if you're lying in the bed, I'm on the right-hand side, she's on the left-hand side. So I find that even when I'm away from home, I'll still favor one side of the bed over the other, because I mean, we've been together for like 20 years, longer than that actually. So subconsciously, I'm always used to, that side of the bed is the side I'm used to sleeping on. So it kind of freaks me out when you wake up and there's no one there and you're alone. And I have a lot of nightmares. Like my brain is incredibly overactive at night. I actually suffer. Oh, by the way, welcome to PFlax in the Morning, episode 3. Oh my goodness. Let me just get back to the night terrors in a second. Hold on. This is the tea I managed to make for myself in my room, because thanks to you guys on the YouTube comments, as you pointed out, there's no kettle in the room, or a water heater as they call it in America, I think. I think they think of a kettle as something you put on a stove, right? Like on the stove top, or the hob as we call it in the UK, and heat up with flame or electricity, and it goes when it boils. I think that's what Americans call a kettle, I think. And a water heater is the one that you plug in. We call them both a kettle. Anyway, night terrors. So whenever I'm at an event, whether it's TI or anything else, even if I'm going away on holiday with some mates or whatever, I cannot share a room. Cannot share a room. If there's any chance I can avoid sharing a room, I will persist in requesting from the organizers that I don't have to share a room. And it's not because I'm a diva, it's because I suffer from night terrors. And luckily, most people are very obliging. You know, they'll sort of say, "Oh, okay, yeah, sure, fair enough." And it is a real thing. It's not like a mega serious condition or anything like that, but it's extremely unpleasant. And I will describe it for you briefly. There are different kinds of sort of sleep disorder. Obviously, you've got insomnia and stuff like that, which can be horrible. I know lots of people have gone into insomnia. Lots of gamers have insomnia, and I don't know whether the reason they're into games is because they're up so late and they can't sleep, or if the games have an effect. It's one of those chicken and egg things. I'm not sure which it is. Then you've got night sweats, where people sweat uncontrollably at night, and that sometimes happens to me. I'll wake up and I'm sheathed in sweat, and I'm like, geez, what the hell is going on here? And other times you'll get, there's a kind of night terror, I can't remember, I think it's sleep paralysis, where you'll wake up and you'll be having a nightmare. It's a waking nightmare, which I'll explain in a minute, in case you don't know, you probably do. And you're paralyzed, you can't move. And you'll be convinced that something is trying to kill you. Terrifying. Luckily, I don't have sleep paralysis. I have night terrors, as they're called. Imagine if you're having a dream, and partway through the dream, you open your eyes, and your brain, instead of waking up, sort of merges what your eyes can see in the darkness, which might be very little, merges that with your sense of fear. This is the best way I can describe it. So, for instance, if I take my glasses off, my vision drops markedly, to the point where if I'm looking at this screen, I can't recognize myself on my camera. I can't recognize myself. I can see a bald guy and I could probably have a guess, but even if I squint, even at this short distance, I'm not 100% certain. Could be Moby, could be Carl Pilkington, obviously. Heinrich Himmler is another person that I've been compared to. Thanks, internet, for that one. So when you're half asleep, or almost completely asleep as it is in the middle of the night, and you'll see a red LED from, say, a phone or a TV on standby, that fuzziness, combined with the fact that your brain isn't really fully conscious, means that it can look like something. And my brain fills in the gaps. And it doesn't fill in the gaps with stuff like, oh, it's a puppy. It fills in the gaps with stuff like, oh, that's a robot that's trying to eat my legs, or that's a demon coming right for me. And my brain, in between the state of consciousness and subconsciousness, is inventing things to explain what I'm seeing. So sometimes I'll wake up and in a night terror, and I'll be looking at my wife's face, and I'll see like teeth and like red eyes and everything, like she's trying to kill me. Or I'll wake up and my mental state is saying, why is she gassing us with poisonous gas in our own bedroom? She must be trying to kill me. Or whoever it is, it could be anything. I'll think there's people in the room and everything. It's crazy. It's crazy. It makes me sound like a lunatic. But we have crazy dreams every night. If you really remember most of the dreams that you have, they're all crazy. My kids tell me their dreams all the time, and they'll take like 20 minutes to do it, and I'm getting to the point where I've started saying to them, do you know what? Everybody has crazy dreams. This isn't interesting. You didn't work hard to imagine this dream. It's just nuts. But they're trying to understand how this gift of an amazing dream, everybody gets that, right? As you get older, you kind of you remember them less and less and less. I mean, I don't even remember what I had dreams about last night. Don't remember. Sometimes I'll remember a dream, but generally speaking, I don't. So the night terrors are pretty scary. You wake up and you're convinced that either paranoia, you're feeling very paranoid, you're under attack, you're terrified, you're scared, and sometimes you'll act out. I'll jump out of bed, I'll throw the duvet around, I'll throw windows open. I tried to climb out of my bedroom window one time. My wife had to grab my leg and wake me up and say, get the fuck back in bed, you idiot. I live on I have a 3-story house, and I opened those, those big little pull down the dormer windows in the loft. It's like a big hinging window. I was trying to climb out the fucking window onto the roof to get away from her. So when it comes to events, I don't want to share that with other people. I mean, I'm screaming, I'm shouting, all kinds of horrible things. So I'm never violent, although I have occasionally pushed my wife out of bed, or sort of held her like really tight because I think she's trying to get me. But the moment she speaks, I come around, and half the time my conscious brain is like biting, it's like pushing its way through this fog saying, idiot, this is just a dream. And I'll suddenly come around and I'll be like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. It's weird. It's a really, really weird thing. And I'm sure you're going to say, Pyrian, get some help. Hold on, Pyrian, get some water. My TI7 water bottle. I don't know if you guys will be getting these at the event, by the way. It's pretty sweet, but every year they seem to have a different one. And this one has this weird swiveling, it's like a swiveling nozzle. You just push that and then it's got like a safety catch on it. I like the one with the pop-up straw on top. That was a good one. Anyway, this is pretty sweet. This is the cup of tea I was talking about, the one that I made with the espresso machine in my room, just by not putting a thing in the espresso thing, and just semi-hot water comes out and you can just about get a cup of tea. I felt a bit like a survivalist, home brewing a cup of tea. Yeah, we made it. There's water coming out and stuff like that. I brought this big bag of tea bags. I brought this huge bag of tea bags. You can't be traveling without tea as an Englishman. You can't be doing it. Yeah. So a few years ago, I guess this would have been about 15 years ago, the night terrors were really bad, like every night. And it would be every night for like a month, and then it would stop for a month. And then I would think about them. I would think, wow, where'd my night terrors to go? And my brain would be like, night terrors, good idea. And I'd have one. So my wife said, maybe you're going crazy. You should go and see somebody. So I did. And I went to St. Thomas's Hospital in London, and they had a sleep specialist there. I had to wait months for an appointment. Went to see the guy, and he said, okay, describe it to me, what happens? And I told him, and he said, yeah, there's nothing we can do. I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, we just barely understand why this happens. The best I can do is give you a prescription. Go see a psychiatrist. I said, oh, I'll do it. So he gave me this prescription. He actually, a referral to go and see a psychiatrist. I went and saw the psychiatrist. I chatted to him for a while, and he said, well, you don't seem crazy, which I thought was one of the nicest things that anyone's ever said to me. And then he wrote me a prescription for temazepam, very, very low dose of temazepam. Now, when it comes to drugs, whether it's weed or anything else, I seem to have the body of a very, very small and harmless kitten. Because if I smoke weed, I get higher than anybody else in the room. Even if I'm not really trying to get particularly high, I'll be the guy that ends up drooling in the corner and can't speak for like 2 days. I don't know why. It's just one of those things. Like, I can drink a lot, but I can't ingest much in the way of drugs. So when I take the temazepam, I'd sleep like a baby. But when it came to waking up the next morning, my wife was like shaking me for like an hour. I was late for work and everything. This is when I had a job. And I was like, I felt in a daze all day from this one little tiny dose of temazepam. And I went back to the psychiatrist and I said, this stuff is knocking me on my ass. Like, I can barely wake up the next morning. He's like, shouldn't do that. And I think what he was saying is, what's wrong with you, big baby? It's like a tiny, tiny little dose of temazepam. I give this to old ladies and they're walking around like there's no problem. So I stopped taking the drugs, which is something I don't think you should do. It's like this kind of thing a crazy person does, you know, he's off his meds. And I've been off them for 15 years. And I never went back because I figure if I'm taking temazepam from the age of 25 until the age of whenever I die, which will hopefully be pretty long way down the road, what's that going to do to you? How's that going to change your brain chemistry? How good is that for your body? So another friend of mine recommended meditation, and I tried to get into meditation, but it's one of those things where when you're thinking about meditating and you're doing it, you're also thinking, this is wank. This is utter wank, isn't it? I'm just sitting here meditating and my brain's just going, you could be playing Dota, mate. Could be reading a book. Could be watching telly. And here you are just sitting and staring into space and concentrating on your breathing. I'm like, fucking hell. I couldn't get into it. Boring. Too boring. And then what I started doing was not playing games within like an hour or so of bedtime. So I'd play until like 11:30 or 12 at night, and then I'd stay up till 1, just reading the internet and stuff like that. But that's really bad as well. That light from the screen is really bad. I used a program called PFlax, which changes the sort of the hue, if you will, of the screen from that white blinding screen light, which is really bad for you, to a more softer kind of light. And I know that there are these orange glasses you can put on, orange tinted sunglasses, that will get your brain ready to adjust for sleep. Because people staring at phones, that light is really bad. Like, it's pretty ridiculous how fragile the human body is when it comes to light. Like, I mean, when I traveled here, I hardly suffered any jet lag because I did it the right way. The way that you're meant to do it is you're meant to expose yourself at the right times of day. So the times of day when it's going to be daytime where you're going, to as much light as you can. The way they do it on the airplane is you're coming over and they turn off all the lights and they close the windows, even though it's light outside. So your brain is saying, yes, it's nighttime, and you go to sleep. And then you wake up in wherever you're going, but it's like 5 p.m. So I didn't sleep on the flight, and I was watching screens the whole time, because where I'm going, it's daytime. So I wanted to be in daytime mode. When I landed, it's obviously beautiful. In Seattle, the weather is unbelievable at the moment. And it's like 30 degrees, 35 degrees every day. It's wonderful. Beautiful, clear blue skies. During the day, I'm out and about. I've got the curtains open, got everything open. Light, light, light. I try and go outside all the time. And my brain is saying, it's daytime, it's daytime, it's daytime, and it wakes up. So your brain is really susceptible to light, because that's all it has to rely on if you think about it. Human beings and animals rely on the sun to decide what time of day it is and what they should be doing. That's it. So if you expose yourself to a lot of light and stuff, it really, really has a strong effect on your brain chemistry. And if you're trying to sleep, and the last thing you're doing is in your brain's terms, staring directly at the sun, and then going to sleep, your brain's going to be like, wait a minute, wake up, idiot! So half your brain is chemically in a awakened state. This is my best guess anyway. And the other half of it is saying, must sleep, have work tomorrow, so it causes a lot of problems. Also, when you're playing games and watching videos and reading books and things last thing at night, your brain is super active. So it's like shaking it like crazy and going, wow, look at all this cool stuff. And all the neurons are going, and then you go, right, stop that, go to sleep. And your brain can't do it. So I've tried not doing anything, very calm. Listening to music I find is really good. Just before I go to sleep, I'll just listen to some music. But even then, I'll always put on songs I really like, and I'll be like hype and happy and stuff like that, and then trying to go to sleep. I mean, in the past, you know, things got dark, you had to put candles on to do anything. You would have just maybe had sex with your partner and gone to sleep. I should do that every night. But hey, I've got a streaming career to have, right? It's got to be worth it. The nights I sleep best are the nights when I go to sleep at the same time as Mrs. F, and we'll lie in bed chatting away and stuff. Maybe we'll have sex and stuff like that. You know, you sleep like a baby, no problems. But most of the time I'm doing what everybody else does these days and staring at screens. But that's the thing, is the night terrors didn't start with that. I was having them way before I had like even good internet. I didn't even have 1 meg. Can you imagine that? Not even 1 meg. It was terrible. It was like dial-up internet. Oh my god, it was the worst. How did we live back then? When I was at university, there was only internet at the library, like 3 or 4 computers. No one had internet at home. No one. That's 16 minutes of talk about sleeping. Let's talk about TI. It's TI7. Yesterday we filmed some good stuff. Me, Ken and Slacks went to Benaroya Hall. As you saw Ake's tweet, we went to Benaroya Hall with Ake and we filmed a segment there, which I was very happy with, and I hope you guys like it. We managed to get in to Benaroya. There's like a big conference on at the moment, but they let us in. You'll see all about it. I think if it's edited the right way, it'll be very, very good. And we've got a great bit that we're planning today with PPD. I'm not going to give you any details, but we're happy with these bits. I mean, you've got three titans of the industry sitting around. You know, you've got me, massive deal, right? Slacks, huge deal. Hotbit, massive deal, right? This is like the writer's room on like the Rick and Morty or The Simpsons or something, some hot show. 100%. 100% comparable to that. Come on. Ken was sat right here yesterday. I was on my bed. Slacks was next to me. And we just talked for like 3 hours, brainstorming ideas, talking shit. And it was like a fiend sesh. I'm not overstating it at all. I swear to God. And we talked with Slacks about, you know, how you make content for things like this, and it's interesting. We had a lot of conversations. I'd need to talk with Slacks before I talked about some of the things we've talked about. Nothing major, but they were just conversations we had. The same thing people talk about in any industry. Talk about their place in it and how they feel about other people and what they're doing, how they feel about, you know, the whole thing. We talk constantly, the way you talk about things, right? You know, everybody in esports talks as well. We all talk to each other. Did you hear about this? What about this? Did you know what so-and-so did? You're like, wow, you know, it's like not gossip so much as like trying to get a handle on what the fuck is happening in this industry. Esports is crazy. And TI so far, as usual, has involved Valve trying out a lot of new stuff. And I know that the group stage is, I wouldn't say it's been too controversial, because let's think back to every TI there's ever been. There'll be threads talking about petition, Valve, can you fix so-and-so, petition, get rid of so-and-so, blah blah is the worst caster, blah blah needs to stop this. Like, people get very, there's a lot of attachment to the way Dota is seen in the world. Like, Dota fans, like a lot of people who, like, I think Dota fans are generally so passionate about how their game is perceived that they're terrified of someone coming to Dota and going, nah, it's not for me. To them, that's like, oh my god, we've got to save Dota. Dota's going to fall over. And obviously people talk about the player numbers a lot, and they talk about what other games are popular and everything like that. There's always going to be games that come along and are hugely popular and take some numbers away from Dota. Battlegrounds is probably something that's done some of that, because a lot of people play Battlegrounds. I know a lot of people in Dota that play Battlegrounds. It's a very popular game. But I personally don't think that games like that will ever have the longevity that Dota's got. Because, for instance, Dota's still here, man. It's been here for years and years and years and years. And it's always getting better. As Valve said, they want, you know, more new heroes, and I just think it's here to stay. So I'm not as panicky about new player experiences in Dota. I would like players to have a good experience in Dota, but it's not like I'm terrified that something bad's going to happen to Dota. I think it's going to be fine. And I feel a lot of the threads, even though some of them, this is on Reddit by the way, come from a very angry place and people are furious at their gamers, you know, something's happened. Oh my god, I can't believe you haven't got a panel between the games. What are you doing? Oh my god, they just want our money. Calm down. I assure you, Valve want the absolute very best for Dota. And although they may not have communicated to you why they're doing things, every TI has had new things happen. Every TI has had a new way of doing this, a new way of doing that, and they try things on. They try it on and they see how it fits, and if it doesn't work, they go, okay, we'll change it. So for instance, day one they had the panel at the start and the end. Last year we had panel after pretty much every game. It was me, Charlie, Cap, Nahaz, we did it. We did a whole bunch of panel stuff. It was a really nice set. It was over in Bellevue, I can't remember what the name of the hall was. And it was great. We talked, but at the same time, it's a lot more hassle to just fill like 5 minutes, if that, sometimes between the games. And I think the other problem was, imagine if you were tuning into Dota 2 on the Twitch page. You've heard from somewhere, you've read it on some website, the International is starting it. I mean, it's in mainstream press, you see the International. So you go, oh, check it out. You go to Twitch, you click on Dota, you click on Dota 2 TI, and you're watching the game, and it cuts back to a studio, and it's a fairly small studio, 2 cameras, and you know, there's no swooping jib shots, there's no player profiles, there's no fancy videos, and you think, so this is like the main TI? God, wow. No, I thought it would be bigger. When you see TI start next week, remember we have a whole week of group stage, when you see TI start next week, there's no mistaking this is a huge tournament. You have shots of crowds, swooping stadium stuff, stage, you have all these video inserts and bits, live interviews, you see all the fans, there's no mistaking it. But in that first week, you could easily tune in and think the TI is just this. And I think they're worried that if that's your first impression, people are going to make a mistake and think this is all that TI is. Whereas if all you see is games, you'd think this must be some kind of a qualifier or something because I don't see a crowd. That's what I reckon it is anyway. We'll see. But I know they're going to put another panel segment in today. Just allow for experimentation. If you want the game to stay fresh and you want the scene to try new things and new people, I think that's important. Last year, people forget, last year there were a lot of complaints that there was no new talent, that it was just the same old people, nepotism, it's this guy, it's how they always do it, it's just because they're mates with so-and-so. About everybody. There was loads of complaints last year about it was the same old people. Where's the new blood? Where's the new blood? Well, here it is. And now you're saying, I can't believe they forgot so-and-so. There's always going to be complaints. Whether they stick with the same, tried and tested, whether they try something new. Valve tries something new. They always do that kind of thing. I obviously am an exception to that because I'm old as fuck and I've been doing this. This is my 5th TI, so I'm not an experiment. But they use people in different ways and they try the format out and stuff like that. I don't know, man. I think people worry too much. The games were pretty hype yesterday. They are changing, as far as someone on Twitter said, the terrain back to the default terrain. As a scrub, I personally cannot tell where they are on the map when they flick to some action, unless I can see the default map. It's taken 5 years for me to bury that map in my brain so that I know it, as well as I know my own neighborhood, right? You really do. You just know every nook and cranny of it. You know exactly where it is. On the other maps, I just cannot see it. I'm not sure what is a tree and what's not. I'm not sure what is a cliff and what is like a, you know, part of the new terrain. It's too complicated for me. So I'm glad that they're, supposedly this is according to I saw a thread on Reddit, one of the Russian casters was saying we're going back to default terrain. I'm personally glad. Not because, and I'll tell you this, a lot of people are saying, what a new player is going to think? That's a ridiculous argument. New players are going to think, wow, this map is real pretty because it's a beautiful map. Like, it's gorgeous. I think so. I love the floating jellyfish and stuff. It's great. It's just that I personally cannot navigate it, especially when the map, you know, when everything's moving quickly. So I'm glad they're going back to that. I don't think new players would have given a shit. I think it's only people who have spent years watching Dota, for whom it feels like you're just on edge thinking, God, this is like, where's the default terrain, you know? I bought an HDMI cable yesterday at Target so I can plug my laptop into the telly, lie on bed and watch the games on the big screen. It's great. I mean, we can go down in the hall and watch it there, but you've got 4 different games going on and people coming and going, and you're kind of talking to people the whole time. So oddly enough, this year, when I have less reason to watch the games, because I'm not doing any panel work or analysis or anything like that, we're doing content, you know, we're just doing content. So I could just come here and not watch a single game of Dota and we'd still be fine. We'd be able to do content. But I want to watch every game of Dota. So the other thing in the hall is there's 4 games going on at once. You never focus on one. Because someone will be like, oh shit, dude, look at that. And you'll turn around and look at this game, and then you'll go over to this game. I like to pick one game. I watch it start to finish. I love the casting. By the way, I think Lyrical has been doing a great job. All the cast have been doing a great job. But I haven't, like, seen, you know, his first TI and everything. I love Gabe. He's a wonderful guy. And I'm so glad he's doing it. I watched it. He was great. He was so good. He was so cool and smooth and just natural. Wonderful. Really, really happy for him. Yeah, it's just great. I'm glad Blitz is here. He's my boy. Absolutely my boy. I love him. One of the funniest guys. Like when he was on the panel yesterday, he was flaming CCNC. So he, like all these lich first picks, he says, Quinn, this is when you pick Prophet and just go straight down mid, right? I'm just like, damn. It's like Blitz, he knows what that line is when you can make that a joke that is so, it's on the verge between, it's annoying to hear so much that it's actually funny, even to the person who's being teased. He's great at that. This has been a rambler. It really has. I'd like to do a TLDR version. I should have done it at the start, but I never know what I'm going to say until the end. Too long, didn't read. When it comes to TI, people complain about things every year. Don't worry so much. The games are still good. If you think that this, that, or the other could have been done differently, that's fair enough. But some of the stuff people are saying is nuts. Like, Valve doesn't care and all this kind of stuff. I assure you they do. They all love it. They're all watching it. They're passionate about this game. That's why it is what it is. Just give it time. If something's not working, you could point that out, but let's try to be friends, eh? We're all on the same team. We're all on the same team. It's just my personal feeling anyway. Like, imagine if, for instance, you wanted to change the way someone was doing something and you raised the issue with them. You went up to them and you said, could I talk to you for a minute? No big deal, but the way that you put your shoes in the tumble dryer last thing at night to like dry them out or something, it's kind of annoying because it's like boom, 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 and the tumble dryer all night. Could you just not? Could you? Even if you do it first thing in the morning or something, that's not so bad. But last thing at night, I'm trying to sleep. My kids are trying to sleep. I just hear this, someone running around in a tumble dryer, basically. And that's a true story. My friend used to put his shoes in a tumble dryer last thing at night because he'd wash them every night and he put them in tumble dryer. And it was awful. It literally sounds like someone running in a big steel drum. What I didn't do was go up to him, scream in his face, the equivalent of all caps, tell him he didn't care about anything, tell him that he was gonna, he was gonna destroy the house and everything was terrible and that he should be fired. I didn't do that. Because if you want someone to do something, you still have to, even if they're being unreasonable, you approach them in a reasonable way, they're more likely to see the error of their ways. As long as they can see themselves in this context as the unreasonable one. So if someone's doing something you don't like, just ask nicely. Ask nicely. There's no need to be mean. There's no need to say some of the stuff that people are saying. Anyway, I've said too much. I've given away too many secrets. This is the end of PFlax in the morning, this morning, but I'll be back tomorrow. Peace.